You've no doubt heard of the Great Resignation. Now that's morphed into becoming the Great Gloom. Think about that, the Great Gloom. It's forcing remote employees into a period or a position of unhappiness. They're jumping ship, they're looking for new jobs, and you need to fix that, especially inside your practice.
This is The Rare Advisor, proud to be a part of the Advisor Advancement Network and home of a business model supercharged by recurring and repeatable events. Your host is Mike Walters, CEO of USA Financial. He is an investment advisor representative of and securities are offered through USA Financial Securities, member FINRA SIPC, a registered investment advisor.
Hey, welcome back again to The Rare Advisor. RARE stands for Recurring and Repeatable Events, because when you have systems and processes in your business, that's when your business is the most predictable. That's when it will be worth the most, and that's when it will grow the most rapidly. Now, with that said, if you're interested, quick, very brief commercial. I did come out with a new free report. It's 34 pages, and it's a collection of my insights on how to best structure your practice from all I've been doing over the last 35 plus years. You can get the Advisor's 12-step reset for predictable growth, value, and lifestyle. That free report, is available at 12stepreset.com. So check that out if you're interested. With that being said, I want to chat today about something very specifically that you must eradicate from your business. You must make sure that you do not allow this to enter your business in the first place. And that can be a bit difficult given the fact that we've come off of a pandemic and what has historically been known as the Great Resignation. The byproduct of that is now being labeled as the Great Gloom. The Great Gloom. So let's talk about what that actually is and what it may represent. So this is the employee NPS, Net Promoter Score, scoring mechanism. So you may be familiar with the Net Promoter Score. If you're not, that's a whole nother subject. I would encourage you, Google that up. I believe I've done some rare conversations about the Net Promoter Score in the past, so you can pull up some videos on that as well. But this is the employee version where they actually ask an employee to identify their, quote, happiness level. And what they're finding is the happiness level is dropping faster than it ever has before. In fact, check this out right here. It's dropping 10 times faster than it has in the previous 3 years. So this is the Net Promoter Score. And most importantly, this is the trend line that's been taking place through back here, the beginning of the pandemic, January of 2020, essentially. With that being said, I'm mostly concerned, and the reason I'm bringing this to your attention today is look what's been taking place since January of 2022. So less than 2 years ago, and look what's happening to the trend line now. It is dropping like a rock. And as I mentioned, is falling 10 times faster than it has in the previous years. And they're actually saying that people are simply accepting that morale is getting worse in corporate America. And these findings coincide with a large survey that Gallup did, the Gallup poll company, in July of 2023, where they said 80% of Americans are dissatisfied. I've got it quoted down here for you. 80% of Americans are dissatisfied with the way things are going. And on top of that, job satisfaction has dropped 8% on their records since 2019. So on the one hand, it's important to understand this is taking place. On the other hand, the real question is, what does it mean and how do you fix it? With that being said, I'm going to switch you to this this 4-box matrix that isolates down to what I'll just simply call happiness and productivity. Now, simply put, people, employees or otherwise, they want to be up here. They want high happiness. Companies, corporate America, wants to be over here. It wants high productivity. Obviously, the overlap is high happiness, high productivity. This is where you want to live. How is it that happiness is dropping like this, falling off of a cliff over here? And what does that correlate against the pandemic? Well, to take a very complex discussion and boil it down to its simplest terms, my contention is simply this. white collar workers, once they got a taste for remote work, working at home, out of their spare bedroom, out of their den, out of their office from home, that's where they've wanted to stay. They've been digging in their heels. They think that that is what they like. That is what they enjoy. The reality is, however, people are built for community. So when you isolate yourself down like that and you're not having physical interactions with your teammates, with your workmates, with the rest of the people on your department or in other departments or in your company or even in other companies, when you're not physically seeing each other and meeting each other, what's happening is happiness is eroding. But most people are still hanging on to that idea of remote work. In fact, Zoom, the company that has promoted more than any other company the ability to have meetings by video, have appointments by video. So why leave your house? You can work remotely and work through video. Zoom is trying to force employees back into their office, and they're having a hell of a time doing it. And so are many other companies. And it's because people are hanging on to this idea of remote work, even though it's working against the detriment of their happiness. Now, you would hope that people will eventually figure that out, and companies are figuring it out. But the problem is, as they're forcing people back to work, at best, they're going to end up down here. And if you have low happiness and high productivity, it's going to slide this direction. And nobody wants to be over here. Nobody wants low happiness, low productivity. But right now, that's what people are afraid of. They're seeing low happiness. So low happiness has got to be in one of these two boxes. And companies will tell you, tracking some of their numerics, that maybe they're not having good productivity. So therefore, they're in that lower left-hand box. They need to get the heck out of there. And what are they going to do? They're going to push people back to the offices. Now, my contention is that you're going to have a difficult time doing that in many instances. And I don't even necessarily recommend it. But what you do have to do is find some kind of a happy medium. You have to find a way to keep people connected. And I don't think you can do it just through video. Because what happens in video, first of all, it's great. It's better than just being on the phone, but it's still not a live meeting or session. That's one piece of it. The other thing that I think gets way overlooked is the fact that if you're in a larger operation, you're having employees who might feel fairly connected to the people in their department, but now they're having absolutely zero interaction with the rest of the company, the people in other departments. And yet they rely on those people in those other departments, but they're never physically seeing them or interacting with them anymore. So this is a huge challenge. This is going to affect the way your practice operates. This is going to affect the way the institutions you interact with operate. This is going to affect what's going on in terms of the value of businesses, and can they keep up their productivity? And if not, what is that going to do to their stock price? What does that do to the economy? This is a phenomenon that was brought on by the pandemic. It would have taken us decades to get to this kind of video interaction for meetings and appointments if it weren't for the pandemic. Yet we were catapulted ahead in time, 10, 20, 30 years. And now we're seeing the byproduct, the offset of what happened, or what were the results of that happening. There's been some really positive results too, by the way. I love video meetings. I think they're super effective. They save you a ton of travel time. They can be way more effective than a traditional phone appointment or phone call, but they're still not the same as a live meeting. And sometimes you need live meetings. So how do you combine these things? Find the right fit, for lack of a better word, so that your firm is not reflected by this downward trend. We don't want this to be your employees.
This information is for licensed financial professionals only and is not intended for use in soliciting sales from the public. The views expressed represent the opinions of the presenter or their featured guest, not necessarily those of USA Financial or its affiliated subsidiaries. Industry references are generic and not intended to represent actions or beliefs of any individual or entity. Content is only presented to illustrate general principles, beliefs, or ideas and should not be construed as legal or regulatory advice. Trademark and copyright protected. USA Financial and Affiliates.